Now, we are absolutely back to another episode of the Future of the Music Industry podcast. I, as always, am joined by my co-hosts, Derek Perez Jackson and Aaron Atlas Neal. We are talking today about kind of the legacy of the work that we're doing here and kind of the lasting effects and benefits that we've had on the talent that we have educated and brought up in our program, particularly on the end of the artists and what they are doing now, who they're working with, and kind of the lasting effects of having gone through our program when they were here with us. Prez, I know you have many times fold more experience with kind of coaching the artists than either of us have at this point. So do you want to kick us off here with maybe one student in particular that you can kind of remember through our time doing coaching that has kind of left a mark on you personally?
There's a lot of them that have really left a mark. I think though, like even to just like give context to like the whole thing, is to just say that ultimately the point has been about like the legacy of it, right? What we want the legacy to be, why all of this matters, is really because there's a lot of people out here who talk about, oh, how like artist development is dead, the industry doesn't care, everything is about virality and all this other stuff. And but there's all these people talking about it. There's all these people there's all these people creating like educational platforms, right? And a lot of people look at us as like just another educational platform. Um, and there's a lot of critique being made about even people, who are putting out these educational platforms who aren't even really like working in the industry like that for real, for real. And a lot of that is justified. Like a lot of those feelings are like 100% justified. But yet, for all the critiques that we hear, and again, this is probably just due to the algorithm because the algorithm loves controversy, there aren't very many people putting out actual solutions. At least not that I've seen. And unfortunately, even when you get to the point where you're talking to about these different foundations that are I'm not gonna name no names, but you have these different foundations that are made by like very, very, very influential people. So much of it is, in my opinion, kind of like band-aids on the situation, right? Like it's designed for them to be able to say, oh well, we're doing our part, but it's completely ignoring the fact that what we all recognize as necessary is a structural change to how the whole thing works. But because those same institutions are making so much money and like legacy money, like residual money off of the way things currently work, there's only so much that they can even imagine changing things that's not going to interfere with their own like bottom line at the end of the day. So when we talking about like our legacy and we're talking about the artists who have come through this platform and the fact that a lot of people might know who these names are, might know some of the things that they worked on, and a lot of people might not. What's important to realize is that, but they did it by themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like you're talking about not even like apples to apples or oranges to oranges when you're talking about the fact that we're talking about like under 24-year-olds largely who have carved out livelihoods for themselves in this industry at a success rate that is unheard of for most people doing it independently, like as a part of a community, right? Like, and I think like that's the part, that I really want people to have context with regards when they understand what it is that we're talking about. Like, we're not talking about people who, oh, they were so and so's cousin's baby mama's best friend. Like, you know what I'm saying? We're not talking about people who was like, oh, like that's so-and-so nephew or so-and-so son, and and we're not even talking about people who got their acclaim from going viral on TikTok or Instagram. We're talking about people who literally leveraged a community in order to grow and make a name for themselves in a grassroots way. And I think that's so important because when people talk about having that longevity, that's what's necessary. So, there's no way we don't have this conversation without talking about someone like a Kenny Mason, right? Who is hands down one of our favorites to talk about. But I think the people who are lesser known because they're not in the forefront deserve a lot of acknowledgement too. Like Sensei Bueno, for example, or even Taryn Ankrum, right? Like those who are, managers of artists, A&Rs for artists, or producers for artists who have worked on projects with Ari Lennox, Janelle Monáe, Dreamville, so on and so forth. Like that, right? Like it's realizing that there's an actual through line that, if we're really talking about it, goes directly through Georgia State University, and it's not a coincidence. It's not something that the school did. It's not something that a particular college or community or group of professors or academics did. It is something that students did.
Isn't that how I think that's to your point? I think it needs to be stated that that's how every industry and institution operates, right? In music, it's a little different because we've never been, the music industry does not have, it's one of the few, matter of fact, now I really think about it, and I hope someone corrects me if I'm wrong on this, but isn't the entertainment industry the only, like one of the greatest exports of the United States, but it's the only one that doesn't require a certification to get into? Like, right? It
Yep.
has no real institutional point of entry. We don't export doctors and lawyers and electricians to the rest of the world. If we did at any given time, we certainly don't do that anymore. One of our greatest export to the rest of the world has the Wild West comparison of a barrier of entry. Like, like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that it looks like. No school, no alternative organization other than the ones like ours has absolutely no infrastructural or institutional merit in whether an artist or an executive goes into the industry, with the exception of maybe a Berkeley or the NYU. But even that has an extremely high turnover rate.
And
So,
that's what makes it so irritating because because of that, that's why you see all of these people clawing for credit as stuff that they don't deserve credit for. Community, institutions, network, all of that stuff is important. Like 100% important. But when we're talking about this new age of creative entrepreneur, like there's a lot of people out here who's making it happen, not on their own, but without people that without people that anybody knows. Like this ain't celebrities doing this.
you know what? When you said that, the first thing that I thought of, the institutions that have more ownership over people's success in the music industry today than anyone else, SoundCloud and YouTube. If at
Yep.
any given moment, like, you say, oh, I went to Harvard Law, I went to John Hopkins Medical, that says something. You tell somebody now, I got 1 million subscribes on YouTube, subscribers on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I have my own audience and community.
Right.
Might as well have said the same thing. Somebody's gonna hit. Someone's knocking on your door. Somebody, because we at least know with that kind of, the chances of you having that kind of traction on your own, you're making money. You're making some kind of revenue right now.
Right.
And if there's any indicator that someone probably wants to get in on you on the industry side, that's the only indicator. At that point, you're a startup. At that point, you're a startup. And these labels are VCs. They really not caring about what's going on the idea stage. They want you to already have some customers and some traction in the market before they throwing any money in your space. And you better make sure that you read that contract too.
And this is the part where a lot of people have like an issue, right? Like it's the fact that, like, yeah, like once you have those subscribers, it doesn't really matter what reason you have them. It doesn't matter if you got them because you're talented. It doesn't matter if you got them because you're funny. It doesn't matter if you got them because you're controversial. It none of it matters, because it technically all generates money anyway, thanks to Google's advertising system that was then co-opted by Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Right? Like, you know, you got the eyeballs, you got the ad dollars, so say whatever the hell you want to say, do whatever it is you want to do. And naturally that creates a very interesting issue for our industry, because the thing that so many people, you know, would pride themselves on being like the artistry and the technique and all of these major considerations, some would argue gets overshadowed. I would not make that argument. I do not think that it gets overshadowed. I do think that it attracts a lot of people who have, as we talked about before, bad intentions with getting into this. Like they're getting into it for the wrong reason. And the industry, because the industry is really just about money, does not care. That's the fact. They don't care. Like the very people who we thought were supposed to be protecting the integrity of the art form don't care. Like they can't afford to care. So and let's be clear, that's not something they're trying to fix, because they don't have to, because as long as they're getting money, again, they don't care. Hence the reason that Spotify, as long as the profit margins on Spotify continue to go up, you're not going to hear no complaints.
It's funny, man. When you say that, I just sat there. The first thing I thought was like, I think every profession has an ethics class except this one. You got to take. There's no real business. There's no real music business ethics class you have to take before you go into the industry or you get your first internship. There is if you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, if you're an electrician, sure. You want to do civil engineering, yeah, you have to take some ethics somewhere. Be an accountant. But to make millions of dollars in the entertainment industry in front of millions of people, you know, children being the majority, no ethics.
Yeah, I think that really stretches across to kind of the entertainment industry as a whole, because Lord knows it's all been kind of, I think, since it was kind of conceived, it's all been kind of based off of exploitation ultimately. The people that are kind of the final stop before these products go out and reach the public are really the only ones that make all the rules historically. So no, yeah, any of these platforms that have existed kind of based on this kind of power dynamic paradigm, no, they're not just going to be kind of oddly quiet when the paradigm starts to shift. They're going to be quietly oppositional, because yeah, if the kind of power dynamic shifts too far out of their hands, then they lose control in a way that they will never get it back, because at that point the people that are much kind of lower on the totem pole, much more closely related to the creation of the products, that are being consumed, they are going to get a bigger slice of the pie. And why would you want that if that has not been a necessary step in the past?
Quietly oppositional. That's the statement that I really, really want to highlight in what it is that you just said, right? Because that's the part that I don't think a lot of people feel, but they don't see. That's the part where it's like when people are trying to figure out, oh, I have this great idea, or they're complaining on social media about what's wrong with the industry. That quiet oppositional part is the part that I don't think that they take full consideration of, because it means that two things are happening. For number one, you have the part where, okay, I've been out here, I've been talking to people about what it is that I want to do, and I just can't seem to get people to back me. I can't seem to find no help. It's like, that's because you asking the wrong people to help you. Like, you asking people to help you that in the back of their mind, they going, helping you would hurt me or hurt people that I'm connected to. I can't bring you to them. And that's a reality. The first reality you got to accept. And then number two is the part where it's I guess not realizing that when you are frustrated about everybody staying quiet about something that you see, you have to realize, and we talk to our students about this a lot, that needs to be your sign that ain't nobody got no answers for you. You got to figure out how that's actually going to work and how to power that on your own. And until you have that answer, folks just going to look at you and go, oh, yeah, you know what?
You know what?
And them
That's
is the quiet opposition.
you know what? That's something that being parallel. Man, we were just having this I was just having this conversation with one of my teams today about the, what do you call it? We got a soft yes, which is really a quiet no from an investor. That's a big conversation right now in the tech community that's happening publicly on LinkedIn. If you in those circles, where it's kind of this conversation of investors wanting to main investor or VCs and founders of these startups have this like really weird dynamic right now where they're looking to get feedback, they're looking to get help, they're looking to get support, and instead of giving a hard no or a hard pass, they get a soft yes, which is like a quiet no. It's like a, yeah, I think this is something I want to consider kind of thing, and then you don't hear from them ever again.
Which really just means we want to stay posted on what you're doing, because what you're doing is definitely something that could like break into the industry and do some good stuff, but we don't fully know how we gonna own it yet. So until we figure out how we can take that thing from you, just keep telling us what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, our students know that. Our students know that personally. Well, at least our Georgia State students know it, because that kind of feigned support is what we've been getting from kind of the university system since we started. It is so common for us to hear that what we're trying to do, what we're trying to teach, what we're offering to our students, what they're getting out of it, even when they see that it works and they see that it makes money, before they can kind of see their place and where they can monetize what it is that these students are actually learning and benefiting from, we get a lot of like soft claps. We get a lot of, oh, that's great. That's a great idea. I'm happy that y'all are doing it. Somebody's got to do it, blah, blah, blah. And then, you flip the side, and when it's time to do an event, those are the same people that are blocking you from essentially renting a space on campus.
But you know what, though? That highlights a very important point. How we can talk about the Terrans, the Justices, and who else am I missing? How many executives do we have right now in the industry? It's a lot.
A lot.
right?
Yeah.
It's a whole lot of people that aren't on LinkedIn, aren't on social media, popping shit. Like they're not doing none of that loud stuff, but they got whole jobs. They're at this point with just what we know of, let's just call it the cool 50 that we can casually mention across all of the chapters over the course of the time that we've seen these people go into the industry, and we're discovering more every day. Let's just say there's a very strong chance that NCEG students have propped up how many Billboard charting artists, how many Grammy Award winning artists, right? Like administratively.
Mhm.
Right.
But if they came through us, we know they weren't School of Music, no matter what campus they were on. For the most part, they weren't School of Music. It might have been political science, business admin, whole lot of stuff. Because that's never been a barrier of entry to be an NCEG student, right?
Right.
But what happens? That's tangible, actual success that not only does a program work, but it also creates financial freedom for some of our students, for people who take it seriously. It's not the most glitz and glamour thing, but they got industry jobs. They're decision makers. They decide the viability of the artist in the companies that they work with, right? Cool. Any single other program at any institution would have taken that and been like, oh, look what we did. We taught you these skills. You know, a Harvard lawyer wins a huge case. The kids are studying it the next semester. A new operating procedure is done from a Johns Hopkins doctor. They're learning it next semester, right?
Right.
Yeah, we can sit here and talk about it all the time, all day. So those successes are real. The financial viability is real. Where these people get off the bus is the fact that it has nothing to do with money. They don't care about the money. They don't actually care whether these students are actually getting jobs, because that was never their focus anyway. What they care about is, how is this going to help me? If it ain't helping me, you could be feeding the homeless all day. If it ain't helping my bank account, if it's not helping my position, my job, my opportunities, I don't care. And at that point, that's not a money problem. That's not a functionality problem. That's not a product issue. That is quite literally a social and environmental problem. You have just been given a wake-up call that your environment doesn't care unless your environment gets something out of it. And then that's when things start to get political. And that's the last place you want an actual good product to be, is in politics.
Yep. So let's be clear, because there may be some people watching this, whether they be new members, whether they be people who maybe follow our program and still trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Like, I want to be 100% clear here. NCEG is not another educational institution body trying to teach the music industry. That's not what this is. That's not what we're interested in. And I could honestly give a damn about the music industry as a whole. Like real talk, the entire structure of how it works, outside of needing to know how it works for like monetization, like to know where the money comes from, I could care less. Because what we're addressing here is the need to create an entire new market so that these young people who want to get in it can actually get help from people, or better yet, they can help themselves get into this industry in a way that you, who's looking and watching right now, it don't matter if you help them or not. It don't matter if you support them or not. It don't matter if you co-sign them or not. It don't matter if they came out of your school or not. It don't matter if they learned from you or not, because every single thing that they are going to do They are going to do with their own two hands and by the power of their own capabilities and their own community. That's what NCEG is about. That's what it's always going to be about. And that's what we have done up until this point. So when we talk about the significance of auditions happening right now, you got to recognize that there are 3 members of NCEG administration on this conversation right now. I don't know who the hell just auditioned. Zay, do you know who auditioned? Atlas, do you know who auditioned?
Nope.
Ain't none of us gonna be involved in that process at all. Jermaine Dupree or any executive you want to name that's like dang, LaFace, Motown, whatever. Any executive you want to name that's done come out of Atlanta that we consider these icons, who every single one of them has done what it is that they can do in order to give back to this city, and it ain't helped at all. Because the one thing that they cannot do by themselves is create a whole new market. That's not their job. That's not their job, and it's not their prerogative. So, but the future executive that's like that very well will likely be an NCEG member. Very likely. Because the entire ecosystem that enabled those people of the past is gone. It does not exist. And it is not coming back.
So I want to thank you for tuning into this episode.
Wow. Wow. No, he just dropped his whole manifesto. Like,
but ultimately, that is the meat and potatoes of it. If I were going to add anything for the people that realistically could be watching this with something to immediately gain out of it, it is our students. And it's important for them to understand that when they think about their position in the industry, the artists affect the current events. They affect the here and now. They're the ones that make products for the public. So the things that they're talking about, the things that they represent, the organizations that they come from, all of that is the current events. That is the short term. They're the people that can change things kind of on the day-to-day basis. And then we have the facilitators that will ultimately, like you were saying, be the ones to affect the industry long term. They won't be the ones that you'll know of until they've done something very, very kind of disrupting in the industry as they kind of change the paradigm on the back end under the hood. But both of them have a substantial part to play in how this industry continues to kind of shape itself and evolve as things kind of continue to change with this kind of modern post-streaming even landscape.
I think it's just important that we make sure that we note that the artists and facilitators that have come out of our platform, I think I should change that a little bit. The creative side of it and the administrative side of it that have come out of those people that have come out of our platform, even in just the last 5 years, have already made lasting changes and effects on the music industry. And if we were to go back even further than that, we can see even more, right? There's absolutely no indication that that is going to do anything remotely close to slowing down. There is every indication in the world that it's going to speed up. I mean, look, in the past 2 years, just in the last 2 years, if we were just to limit just between Taryn and Versus, what, multiple international tours, couple of Billboard charting records for artists that they've been working with. Like, come on. And that's just 2 people. It's just 2 folks. And there's a long list of others that came before them and that are coming right after. And I think it's really important to understand that we're not in the business of propping up an industry that doesn't even want to save itself. We're in the business of building extremely effective creatives and administrators in the entertainment industry. And we know that's the business that we're in because we've consistently done it for the last decade. And we're going to continue to do it.
100%. I want to put this, my closing is I want to put it, you know what I'm saying, on the record. Because based off of and this is still early, understand we're still early in the semester, but I do feel confident putting this on the record in terms of my predictions about the students who we're seeing right now that other people are going to hear about later that are in our platform right now. On the artist side, you have artists like Dre TL, J Activist, I would even say an artist like a Neal. I 100%. I think these are acts that people are going to hear about very, very soon. On the executive side, you have people like Tim Dees and Kevin Lester. Jade Cooper.
Ebony.
100%. Ebony.
Mm-hmm.
Lockwood. I 100% would predict that these are going to be names that people are going to start hearing. And I'm gonna say that now so that when these names start popping up in the future, y'all know where y'all heard them first. When you are looking at NCEG, understand that you're not looking at another platform out here trying to get people famous off of TikTok. Like that ain't this and this ain't that. That might be what the industry is doing right now. Because the industry has no reason to invest, no monetary reason to invest in artist development like that anymore. They just don't. That landscape is gone. But when you're looking at our platform, you're looking at a group of people, of regular people who just said, you know what? I'm sick of asking for the industry to fix it. I'm sick of asking for celebrities to fix it. I'm sick of asking for people to put me on. I'm sick of asking for validations from the academics and the investors and the powers that be or the radio. Sick of it. It's done. It's done forever. This is our platform where anybody who wants to get a glimpse into what the future execs and artists might be, we're going to make all this information open and available to you all to be able to see people who are doing this on their own, see their process, follow their journey, and tap in with them first and early. And that's what NCEG is.
If you all enjoy conversations like this and you want to keep up with kind of the cutting edge on the music industry, make sure you give us a subscribe and hit that little bell next to the subscribe button so you can see every time we drop. Till then, we will talk to you all next week.